Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdogs Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini episode, I have a couple of bizarre stories, folks. We have a ghostly torso, and Bigfoot, once again, is seen and witnessed. Let's get into the first story titled, California Father Sees Glimmering Torso in Her Bedroom and Vanish in the Light. Let's get into this story and read exactly, once again, what this incident portends. Let's get into this story now, folks. In early March 2020, a California father was bottle feeding his 3-month-old daughter in an upstairs bedroom when he noticed movement in the hallway. A dark, transparent, torso-shaped form entered the room, crossed in front of a mirror without producing a reflection, and disappeared as it reached the illuminated bathroom. This sounds very reminiscent of basically a movie, folks, from 1982, which also had a torso-like apparition in it, folks. But before we discuss or read further, folks, let's read the case file. Date, early March 2020. Time, approximately 6:30 p.m. Location, California. Exact city, not given. Setting, upstairs, master bedroom, in a private residence. Witness, adult male. Reported by anonymous witness. Phenomenon, dark, transparent, torso-shaped entity or glimmering humanoid form. Environmental conditions, dark outside. The bedroom television was off. A bathroom light and bedside table lamp were on. But no detail on the exact weather. But it was apparently night, folks, so there's that much. Either way, like a typical ghost story, folks, this happened at night, so that's interesting to think about. Either way, let's read the actual story now, folks. The actual incident, what this father saw, and perhaps how it affected him. And we'll, discuss it. In early March 2020, I was sitting upright in my upstairs master bedroom, feeding my 3-month-old daughter a bottle. The television was off. It was dark outside, and it was approximately 6:30 p.m. The layout of the room is important. From where I was sitting, the bathroom was immediately to my right. A little further ahead was a dresser with a mirror, and beyond that was an open doorway leading into the hallway. The bathroom light and my bedside table lamp were both on, so I could see a short distance into the hallway. My wife and her 3-year-old were downstairs watching television. I was quietly feeding the baby, enjoying a moment to myself when I noticed movement in the hallway outside the bedroom. I initially caught it from the corner of my eye. I immediately turned my head toward the movement. So that's an interesting detail, folks. That's, like a lot of stories, or basically like it's something people have discussed before, folks, where people see movement out of the, corner of their eye. Usually when they turn, they see nothing. But here, this guy continued, or just basically actually saw for once the actual thing that was moving out of the corner of his eye. Now, his wife, and their 3-year-old were downstairs, folks, so they didn't see anything. Do you suppose that maybe there's a possibility that this apparition could have been conjured by them? Maybe it was some sort of tulpa? Or do you think it was maybe to do with the father? We don't know where this entity actually came from, but we can say that it could have been maybe attached to the house. It could be that it was just a wandering spirit, a literal ghost, folks. Or maybe it's something else, as I said. Maybe it was a hologram. Maybe the family was actually part of some sort of experiment and they weren't actually made aware of that fact. It could be that as well. Either way, folks, let's now read on. The encounter. The shadow or glimmer crossed through the bedroom and moved in front of the dresser mirror. It did not cast a visible shadow, and I could not see any reflection of it in the mirror. I continued watching as it crossed into the light coming from the bathroom. It then disappeared. At that moment, my daughter's eyes suddenly opened. That was strange because she had been sleep feeding. I immediately got out of the room as quickly as I could while holding her. Honestly, had I not been carrying her, I might have left her lying on the bed in my panic. Hopefully he would not have, folks, but that's a possibility. I don't think I would have done that. but that's me just wishful thinking it, folks. This could have basically been bad. If he'd basically been fully panicking, you should be glad he was carrying her and realizing that he had her, because, yeah, he didn't panic and get her hurt in some sort of, accident. But let's once again get back to the story, and see where this goes again. The witness reaction. The being was not a shadow. I repeat, it was not a shadow. No cars passed in front of the house. My wife and our other child were downstairs in the television room. It could not have been something moving outside the front of the house, because shape would have changed or disappeared when it crossed the dividing wall between the hallway and the bedroom. I grabbed my baseball bat and searched every room in the house, but I found nothing. I do not know what I thought my Louisville slugger was going to do against it, but I felt that I had to try. I am not a believer, but I am also not against the possibility that there may be things in the world beyond my understanding. What the hell was that? So he basically was still trying to say that he was still not a believer, folks. Do you think he's a believer now? Well, concerning what he saw, folks, I think there's definitely a possibility. Either way, this entity does sound reminiscent of creatures, or basically the entity in the Entity movie from 1982, as I said. But now let's move on to the next article. Calhoun County, West Virginia, hairy people warning. Campers flee after dogs are killed. Here we have basically another account of Bigfoot possibly injuring actual animals, folks, and the repercussions, I guess. Let's read on. An anonymous Calhoun County, West Virginia resident claims that his family has avoided a remote valley inhabited by dangerous hairy people for generations. According to the resident, his brother ignored the warning and camped near the restricted area, resulting in a horrifying nighttime incident involving 2 large dogs. The source also alleges that the local law enforcement officers and political figures have attempted to discourage him from discussing the beings. Those allegations, like the reported encounter itself, remain unverified. Let's get into the case file now. Date, approximately 3 years before the report was submitted. Exact date not given. Time, approximately 3 o'clock a.m. Location, Calhoun County, West Virginia. Setting, a rural, privately owned property of more than 60 acres in the Appalachian foothills, near a valley that the family reportedly avoids. Witnesses, the source's brother and his brother's friend, were reported by anonymous Calhoun County resident. Phenomenon, alleged group of dangerous unidentified hairy people. Environmental conditions not given. But let's just say that it was good enough that he was able to make out these entities. He couldn't really, probably tell exactly what they were. There's a possibility that maybe they were a bunch of homeless people, maybe with mental issues, or maybe he saw something else. Maybe an escaped animal from somewhere, I guess, folks. Perhaps an animal menagerie, but that's a little iffy. Let's read on, though, now. The family property. I have been threatened by people in local law enforcement and political leaders in our area because I continue to mention the hairy people. My family owns more than 60 acres in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains in Calhoun County, West Virginia. The property has been in my family for generations. There is a valley in the area that we do not cross into. We consider it to belong to the hairy people, and I have reportedly warned my family not to enter it. So, his family has known about these entities for decades then, folks. I would love to know if basically he and his family, maybe going back to earlier members in their family, folks, and how long have they known about these incidents and entities? Because maybe this family has known about Bigfoot before the start of the modern Bigfoot mythology in the 1970s, folks. If so, maybe this family has information relating to earlier Bigfoot accounts that no one knows about. Let's read on, and, maybe we can find out. Camping near the valley. About 3 years ago, my brother and one of his friends decided that they did not believe my warning. My brother is former military, and he apparently thought that he could handle anything he might encounter. They decided to hunt and camp near the boundary where the rest of us refused to cross. They set up their camp much too close to the valley. They found out the hard way that these beings mean business. And I imagine they do, folks, if you mess with an actual Bigfoot. We've heard of a few reports, not verified, of Bigfoot actually killing a person by literally ripping their head off. But then again, in that story, if we believe it, this teenage, man, or should I say, this kid tried to shoot at this entity, and then it enraged it. So, maybe, well, you do not basically cross these entities, folks, and you wouldn't have something like this happen to you. But, once again, let's continue with this story. The attack. At approximately 3 o'clock in the morning, my brother, and his friend were awakened by the sounds of two large pit bulls, bulldogs being attacked and torn apart outside the camp. They returned home crying. They wanted the rest of the family to go back with them and wipe out the entire group of hairy beings. I explained that we had, seen at least 30 of them going into the caves where they supposedly live. I told my brother that if we started a war with these hairy people, we would lose. They can disappear into miles of caves and then come out whenever they want. They could go after anyone they choose whenever they chose. That is something to take into account, folks, but also the fact that apparently these hairy men have been seen going into caves in the area. Could be that these entities, some people have speculated before, folks, that Bigfoot, he's never been proven to exist because basically he's from the inner earth. Could be that these caves are entrances to this area, and maybe explains why no one's been able to prove these entities exist. Because these entities can disappear into this cave system that might basically connect to the inner earth. It's a phenomenal idea, folks. But once again, now, let's return to the story. The alleged official silence. You will not receive help from the government or the police. There seems to be an unwritten law against talking about these beings. I do not understand why, but I believe it is true. Please share my story. People need to know that they are not only dealing with these monsters, but also with the very people who are supposed to keep us safe. I am sure that I will catch hell from local law enforcement for speaking out, but I am beyond caring. I am ready to start talking about these dangerous, hairy people. And I hope this man one day gives even more information about these entities, folks, because, I do believe that the government would hide knowledge of these beings, folks, because there are several reasons. One, money. Also, they don't want to basically look, like idiots, folks. They probably don't believe these entities are real. At least some of these people do. Otherwise, and this is another thing to take into account, folks, there are probably others in government that know these entities, know aliens exist as well, and other things like perhaps ghosts. They don't want the knowledge getting out because maybe they have their own aims and agendas that the idea of this information getting out to the public threatens. And they might even basically be more dangerous than the people who just don't believe in this stuff, folks, because maybe their agendas have various real-world consequences that they will even kill to basically protect. Just another idea, folks. Either way, maybe these Bigfoot do come from the inner earth. Maybe they're also telepathic Bigfoot, or invisible Bigfoot, or somehow these Bigfoot are able to influence people's minds. Either way, folks, I wouldn't be surprised at the fact that some people report such beings, and maybe the why these Bigfoot in particular are going into caves is maybe other entities, or basically beings are protecting them. And I don't just mean the government, who maybe are protecting them, folks, for their own aims. But maybe there's a group of alien beings or, entities. Maybe they're interdimensional, or maybe they're cryptozoological or crypto-terrestrial that use advanced technology or even, powers that we would, term magic, or I guess psychic, to, make sure that no one can prove the existence of such entities. Either way, folks, much like the first story, folks, it's phenomena we just do not understand. Now, the first story could have been maybe someone sighting an interdimensional interloper who, for whatever reason, crossed over only temporarily and was seen by the father here, folks. What we don't know for sure, folks, is that maybe the house is haunted. So far, the father would have mentioned that, I think. So maybe there's a possibility it was something like an interdimensional interloper. Either way, we're at the end, so please go subscribe to my YouTube channel. Read comics that are bad for you. You can use the YouTube link down below in the descriptions or the chat to go subscribe to me. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Make sure at the part of the bell they'll give you all future notifications, and please share this video out. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kindle. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video. So be sure to come back again then. Until next time, folks, I'll see you all again soon.